Sophicast.net. You are tuned in now to live internet radio.
إن الحمد لله نحمده تعالى ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أما بعد فإن أحسن الحديث كتاب الله تبارك وتعالى وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. يقول الله تبارك وتعالى في كتابه الكريم: فاتقوا النار التي وقودها الناس والحجارة. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says in His noble book, and fear and protect yourself from the hellfire. Protect yourself from the hellfire whose fuel is both men and stones. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in another ayah, وَاتَّقُوا النَّارَ الَّتِي أُعِدَّتْ لِلْكَافِرِينَ. And protect yourself from the fire that was prepared for the disbelievers. Protect yourself from the fire, يا أيها الإخوة، بترك ما يوجب دخولها من الكفر والمعاصي. Protect yourself from the fire by abandoning sinning and disbelief, as Imam al-Sa'di rahimahullah ta'ala mentioned. Protect yourself from this hellfire. And when we are speaking to you, think about the words that we are mentioning. This hellfire of which the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, ناركم هذه التي يوقد ابن آدم جزء من 70 جزءا من حر جهنم. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said about the hellfire, he said, your fire that you light, the fire in this world, is one of 70 parts of the heat of the hellfire. Imagine your hand burning in a fire. Then imagine it being 70 times worse. Who would like to burn in the fire of this world? Then know that the fire of the hereafter is 70 times more powerful. And I say to you as the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, as comes in the hadith of Abu Hurairah radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam da'a Qurayshan fajtama'u. He called Quraysh, and Quraysh, they gathered for him. And he said, يا بني كعب بن لؤي أنقذوا أنفسكم من النار. He said, O clansmen of Ka'b ibn Lu'ay, save yourself from the hellfire. يا بني مرة ibn Ka'b أنقذوا أنفسكم من النار. He said, O clansmen of Murrah ibn Ka'b, save yourself from the hellfire. And he went on to say, يا فاطمة أنقذي نفسك من النار. O Fatima, his daughter, save yourself from the fire. And I say to you today, brothers and sisters, here present today here in the khutbah, يا مسجد السنة السلفيين أنقذوا أنفسكم من النار. Save yourself from the fire. As the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said to those people, save yourself from the fire. Save yourself from the fire, of which we'll say, as Allah tells us in the Quran, يوم نقول لجهنم هل امتلأت وتقول هل من مزيد. That day we will say to the fire, are you full? And the hellfire will say, is there any more? And I say, if you do not weep, if you cannot bring yourself to weep out of fear, I advise you with the admonition of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, when he said, weep, cry. And if you cannot weep, then make yourselves weep. Because the inhabitants of the hellfire will cry. until their tears dry up. And then blood will flow from their eyes, and their eyes will be covered in ulcers. If you cannot weep, then make yourselves weep. Cry whilst you can feel Allah and be rewarded. Because when you cry in the hereafter, when you cry in the hereafter, and you're being punished in that fire, it is too late. Cry from the punishment of the fire. Look at the companions of the Messenger of Allah. Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu was guaranteed paradise. When he was reading the Quran, Surah Al-Tur, he came to the saying of Allah, إِنَّ عَذَابَ رَبِّكَ لَوَاقِعٌ. Verily the torment of Allah will come to pass. فَبَكَى وَاشْتَدَّ بَكَاؤُهُ. He started to cry. Umar, he started to cry. So much so that he became sick, fearing the punishment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Where are we from the Salaf? Where are we from the Salaf of this ummah? Look at Hasan al-Basri. When they brought him some water to break his fast. Al-Hasan al-Basri radiyallahu ta'ala an min bab al-du'a. From the Imams of the Salaf. They brought him some water to break his fast and he began to cry. So they asked him, Ishbika, what is wrong with you? He said, I remembered the saying of the inhabitants of the fire, An afidu alayna min al-ma, when they supplicated, pour upon us water because they're burning and they're crying. And he remembered the reply, Inna Allah harramahum ala al-kafirin. Allah has made this water and provisions, food, haram upon the disbelievers. Fear the fire, ya ayyuhal ikhwah. Protect yourself from the fire of Jahannam. The fire of which comes in the hadith of Nu'man ibn Bashir. That the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, Inna ahwana ahli an-nari adhaban. Of the inhabitants of the hellfire. Of the inhabitants of the hellfire. The one with the easiest punishment. له نعلان وشراكان من نار. He has sandals and straps made of the fire. فيغلي منهما دماغه. His brains will boil from this. كما يغلي المرجل, like a kettle will boil. Look at the lessest punishment of the fire is that a man, his brains will boil. And look, the Prophet ﷺ continued to tell us about the severity, to tell us about the extreme punishment. He said, وَمَا يَرَىٰ أَنَّ أَحَدًا أَشَدُّ مِنْهُ عَذَابًا وَإِنَّهُ لَأَهْوَنُهُمْ عَذَابًا. The Prophet said about this man, the one who has the easiest punishment of the fire, he will not believe that anyone has a worse punishment than him. Look, the one with the easiest punishment, he will not even believe that anyone has something which is worse than him. That's how great he was. And the Prophet ﷺ says, verily, he is the least of them in punishment. This punishment of which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, فَلَا يُخَفَّفُ عَنْهُمُ الْعَذَابُ وَلَا هُمْ يُنصَرُونَ. This torment that they will suffer, this punishment in the hellfire, it will never be lessened and they will never be aided. Does this not bring fear to your heart? Does this not make you want to cry out of fright, out of fear of that day? If the answer is no, then the iman is weak. This punishment of which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, the punishment which will be so great that they will supplicate, meaning the inhabitants of the hellfire, وَنَادَوْا يَا مَالِكُ لِيَقْضِي عَلَيْنَا رَبُّكَ. The inhabitants of the hellfire will cry, O keeper of hell, let your Lord, Allah, bring death to us. And he will reply to them, قَالَ إِنَّكُمْ مَاكِثُونَ. Verily you will rest forever. Why? Because they wanted a break. They wanted a break from this punishment. This torment of which no one will be able to tolerate and handle. This punishment of the hellfire. Why do they want a break? Why do they want to rest? Because in the hellfire, hellfire, it is punishment on top of punishment. Let us take a brief look at some of the foods and drinks and some of the punishments of the hellfire. And when we mention these, don't just take it as a story from the stories, the tales of the ancients that you were told when you were a child in storybooks. This is real. And this threat is above each and every head sitting today here in Jumu'ah. This threat of the hellfire. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us about the food of the people of the fire. When he said, إِنَّ شَجَرَةَ الزَّقُّومِ طَعَامُ الْأَثِيمِ يَغْلِي فِي كَالْمُهْلِ يَغْلِي فِي الْبُطُونِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, verily this tree known as a zaqqum is the food of the sinners. It will be like hot oil which will burn their stomachs. Imagine eating this. And know that you will be made to eat. Because you will be so hungry that you will need to eat. And this is a further punishment for your sin. That you feel pain out of hunger, and that when you eat it will be more pain. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us about this food, لا يسمن ولا يغني من جوع. This food will neither give any nourishment, and it will not cure any hunger. Why? Because Imam al-Sa'di mentions, we eat food for two reasons. We eat food to cure the pain of hunger, or we eat food for nourishment. And this food of the hellfire will do nothing. This food of the fire will do nothing of the two. Rather, it is a punishment for us. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us about this tree known as a zaqqum. When he said, وَطَلْعُهَا كَأَنَّهُ رُؤُوسُ الشَّيَاطِينِ. The fruit stalks of this tree is like the heads of devils. This tree which will stink, which will taste foul, which will burn the stomachs, this will be our food if we are caused to enter the hell. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us about the drink of the inhabitants of the hell. When he mentioned, وَسُقُوا مَاءً حَمِيمًا فَقَطَّعَ مَعَاءَهُمْ. They will be made to drink. They will have no choice except to drink boiling water which will burn their bowels. Imagine drinking something so hot that it burns your bowels. Imagine drinking a drink so hot that it burns your bowels, that it will cause your kidneys to light, that it will cause your heart nearly to become disconnected from your body. Imagine, because this is a reality that will come to happen and pass to the people of the hellfire. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, فَلْيَذُوقُوهُ حَمِيمٌ وَغَسَّاقٌ وَآخَرُ مِنْ شَكْلِهِ أَزْوَاجٌ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, and let them drink pus, meaning blood, and the pus that comes from your wounds, and boiling water. Imagine drinking pus. Imagine drinking pus. Let alone imagine eating food that has gone stale. But these people will be made to drink pus. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, مِنْ وَرَائِهِ جَهَنَّمْ وَيُسْقَى مِنْ مَاءٍ صَدِيدٍ In front of him is the hellfire, where he will be made to drink boiling water. يَتَجَرَّعُهُ وَلَا يَكَادُ يُسِيغُهُ. And he will be made to drink it unwillingly, and he will find it nearly impossible to swallow this water. Do you not fear this punishment? Is this punishment, ya ayyuhal ikhwah, not sufficient to make us think about the punishment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? This punishment not enough to make us turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in His obedience? Is the reality of the hellfire. Is the reality of the hellfire. Is it not sufficient for us when we read it to benefit from it? Is it not enough for us, ya ayyuhal ikhwah, to take heed from these ayat, to turn to the obedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? الحمد لله رب العالمين صلى الله وسلم على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Inshallah, just to increase us in our fear, so that maybe out of fear we will turn to the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Let us increase in mentioning some of the activities of the hellfire. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us concerning those people that will be burned in the hellfire, when He said, كُلَّمَا نَضِجَتْ جُلُودُهُمْ بَدَّلْنَاهُمْ جُلُودًا غَيْرَهَا لِيَذُوقُوا الْعَذَابَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in this ayah, and every time their skin will burn, every time their skin will roast, we will replace them with a new skin, and we will burn them again so that they may taste the punishment. Every time that their skin will roast, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will replace them with a new skin so that they may roast again. Do we not fear this punishment? Another hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, when he said, رَأَيْتُ عَمْرَ ibn عَامِرَ الْخُزَاعِ يَجُرْ قُصْبَهُ فِي النَّارِ. He said, I saw this man, Amr ibn Amir al-Khuza'i, carrying his intestines in his hands in the hellfire. Carrying his intestines in his hand. Do you not fear this? Picture it. Try and visualize it. A man carrying his intestines in his hand. Doesn't that sound like the most repugnant of sights? Imagine the pain. And Ali ibn Abi Talib radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he said, again, because the Sahaba, the companions of the Messenger of Allah, they recognize these facts. That's why some of them, it is narrated concerning them that they used to have two black lines on their face from crying of the fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Crying from the fear of Allah in our time is something very rare. Ali, he said, Ad-dunya wallat mudbira. The world, this dunya has turned its back, it's going. وَالْآخِرَةُ مُقْبِلَةٌ, and the hereafter is coming. وَلِكُلِّ وَاحِدَةٍ بَنُونَ, and each dwelling, paradise and hellfire, they will have inhabitants. فَكُونُوا مِنْ أَبْنَاءِ الْآخِرَةِ, and he said, be from the inhabitants of the paradise, meaning of the hereafter. وَلَا تَكُونُوا مِنْ أَبْنَاءِ الدُّنْيَا, and don't be people who are inhabitants or love this world. فَالْيَوْمُ عَمَلٌ, this day is actions, meaning now while you're living. وَلَا حِسَابٌ, and there's no reckoning, meaning you're not going to be brought to account. وَغَدًا حِسَابٌ, tomorrow is reckoning where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will bring you to account. وَلَا عَمَلٌ, and there will be no action. So we advise our brothers and sisters, as we mentioned at the beginning of the khutbah, abandon the kufr and the ma'asi, the sinning and disobedience,